Imagine standing on a floor made of just, completely pristine, polished mahogany, and you can feel this low rhythmic vibration humming right through the soles of your boots.
Right, like a steady pulse.
Exactly. It's the heartbeat of a massive pressurized boiler. The air smells like a really expensive combination of imported cigar smoke, maybe some tropical fruit, and just a faint metallic tang of ozone.
Which is such a specific atmosphere.
It really is. You're surrounded by people dripping in velvet and gold, right?
Yeah.
Just tossing platinum coins onto roulette tables like they're skipping stones across a pond.
You've got a little luxury.
Yeah. And then, without any warning at all, the temperature in the room just plummets.
Oh, wow.
The music stops completely. The guest sitting right next to you calmly reaches up, peels off their face paint, drops their wig to the floor, and pulls a jagged, ritualistic dagger out of their coat.
That is terrifying.
I mean, you have a split second to realize that this person you were just joking with at the bar worships the literal god of murder, and the doors have just been locked from the inside.
It's the ultimate subversion of sanctuary.
Right.
When people step into a heavily engineered environment of extreme luxury, they completely surrender their situational awareness.
Oh, totally. You let your guard down.
Exactly. They allow themselves to believe that wealth and architecture are somehow these impenetrable barriers against the chaotic violence of the outside world.
Like paying a cover charge keeps the monsters away.
Precisely.
Yeah.
They assume the threat is outside the walls.
Oh.
They never even consider that the architecture itself has been turned into this very ornate, inescapable trap.
Well, welcome to this deep dive. You, the listener, are stepping right into the middle of a scenario where that exact illusion of sanctuary is just violently dismantled.
It really falls apart fast.
It does. We have a towering stack of source material in front of us today. I'm talking campaign notes, incredibly granular session summaries, and just deeply complex character lore.
There is so much to unpack here.
So much. We are reconstructing the events documented as Session 19, Loaded Dice, Loaded Guns. Our mission today is to figure out how a marvel of engineering on its maiden voyage transforms from a high society political flex into a blood-soaked battleground.
And to understand that escalation, we really have to examine the mechanisms at play. Because, this isn't just a random tavern brawl.
No, not at all.
We're looking at a meticulously coordinated religious terror attack, and it's intersecting with political espionage, underworld networking, and honestly, the unresolved psychological trauma of our primary subjects.
Which is a wild combination.
It is. And everything is happening in a confined, moving environment. It's a pressure cooker, literally and figuratively.
Let's start with the setting, actually, because the setting itself is a character in this narrative.
Oh, absolutely.
The ship is called the Keonthar Princess. Now, if you're picturing, a standard creaky wooden galleon with sails, just erase that from your mind entirely.
Yeah, that's not what this is.
This is a two-tiered, steam-powered riverboat casino.
Which is a huge deal.
It's massive. It was built as a gift for the city of Baldur's Gate by a Lantanese trade envoy, and it was specifically spearheaded by a goblin artificer named Becca Bitesize.
Right, Becca.
But wait, I have to ask the mechanical question right up front here.
Go for it.
You are putting a giant, superheated, pressurized boiler onto a wooden vessel floating on a river.
Yes.
In a world where a stray magical spark or just a loose ember can turn a ship into a bonfire in seconds. How does this thing not just instantly explode?
Well, that's the genius of Lantanese engineering.
Right.
And it really requires a deep understanding of how they merge metallurgy with the arcane.
Okay, break that down for me.
So Lantan is an island nation completely devoted to Gon, the Wonderbringer.
Right.
He's the deity of invention and smithing.
Right.
They don't just, throw coal into an iron box and hope for the best. The boiler of the Keonthar Princess is likely reinforced with magically treated brass alloys.
Oh, so it's not just regular metal.
No, it's specifically designed to withstand catastrophic pressure.
Oh.
And the heat diffusion isn't just physical either.
What do you mean?
It involves thermal runes etched right into the firebox to channel excess heat into motion, rather than letting it bleed out into the hull and catch the wood on fire.
That is so smart.
It is. Becca Bitesize isn't just a mechanic with a wrench. As an artificer, she actively manipulates the magical properties of physical objects.
Gotcha.
She bridges the gap between the raw, volatile energy of steam expansion and the fragile, combustible reality of a wooden ship.
So it's essentially a magically stabilized pressure bomb that you're using to power a casino.
Precisely. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And giving this technology to Baldur's Gate is a highly calculated geopolitical maneuver.
How so?
Well, Baldur's Gate is a mercantile powerhouse, right?
Yeah, huge trade hub.
By gifting them a steam-powered vessel, Lanton is demonstrating undeniable technological superiority while simultaneously opening up entirely new, hyper-efficient trade routes along the River Chianthar.
Oh, so it's like a Trojan horse, but for trade dominance?
Exactly. It's soft power draped in luxury.
And the luxury is just overwhelming. Our party of adventurers who actually happen to be friends with Becca Bitesize from a previous high society encounter, they get ushered right past the local aristocracy directly onto this fluting palace.
VIP treatment.
Exactly. Let's map out the geography of this ship because it becomes a tactical grid very quickly.
Yeah, the layout is super important later.
Right. So you have the grand main deck up top, open to the night air. Then you descend this sweeping staircase into the recessed casino floor.
The heart of the ship.
Yeah, the heart of it. It's filled with the clatter of dice, card tables, and there's a stage where a band in matching yellow outfits is playing.
A nice little detail.
I love the yellow outfits. Then, tucked beneath that, in the belly of the ship, is the Velvet Lounge and the kitchens where all the high-end catering is happening.
The layout forces a really natural segregation of the passengers based on their intent.
How do you mean?
Well, the casual observers, they stay on the top deck.
Yeah.
The risk-takers and the wealthy, they gather on the casino floor. And then the true elite, or those seeking absolute privacy, they retreat down to the Velvet Lounge. It dictates flow and visibility completely.
Which makes the party's reaction to this environment so fascinating. You drop a group of heavily armed, deeply traumatized adventurers into this pristine, stratified environment, and they just completely fracture.
They do not stick together.
No, they treat this multi-million gold piece marvel of engineering like a bizarre sandbox.
It's so funny.
Let's look at Talia. She's a satyr, right? Originating from the Feywild.
Yes.
She doesn't go to the bar. She doesn't gamble. She corners Becca Bitesize and starts peppering her with relentless questions about how the steam engine functions.
See, Talia's reaction highlights a really profound cosmological friction.
Cosmological friction. Okay, I like that. Explain.
The Feywild is a realm of pure, unbridled emotion and chaotic, malleable magic. Things happen there because of story and feeling, not physics.
Right. It's very narrative-driven reality.
Exactly. But Lanton technology is the exact opposite. It relies on the rigid, unyielding laws of thermodynamics, pressure, and mechanical force.
Oh, I see.
So for a satyr to encounter a machine that harnesses boiling water to create kinetic energy without a single enchantment dictating its movement is philosophically baffling to her.
Like her brain just can't compute it.
Right. Becca tries to translate it for her by calling it an oversized, screaming tea kettle, but for Talia, she's looking at an entirely alien worldview.
That is so interesting. Then you have Shane, the human rogue. Shane descends directly to the casino floor.
Naturally.
But he isn't there to play. He starts systematically inspecting all the gambling tables.
Well, he's working.
Yeah, he's checking the roulette wheels, he's examining the backs of the playing cards, scrutinizing the dealer's hands. He's actively hunting for loaded dice or mechanical cheats.
What reveals the most about Shane's psychological state here is his reaction to the results of that inspection.
Because he finds nothing.
He finds nothing. The games are entirely honest. And according to the session notes, this deeply disappoints him.
Why would honesty disappoint him? I mean, wouldn't you want a fair game if you're in a casino?
Not if your entire survival mechanism is built on identifying and neutralizing deception.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right. Shane operates in a world of traps, hidden motives, and lethal betrayals. Paranoia is his baseline operating system.
Wow.
When he encounters a complex system like a casino, which is historically designed to separate fools from their money, and he finds it operating fairly, it creates massive cognitive dissonance.
Because he knows something has to be wrong.
Exactly. It means the threat is coming from somewhere else, somewhere he hasn't looked yet. A rigged game is predictable. A fair game, in his mind, is a smokescreen for a much larger invisible danger.
That makes so much sense, especially when you look at Valessa's entrance.
Oh, Valessa.
Yeah. Valessa arrives late. She's a Dhampir, having recently undergone this horrific transformation from her original drow physiology involving a dark ritual and like an infernal parasite.
Yeah, she has been through a lot.
A tremendous amount. So she didn't spend the days leading up to the cruise picking out a dress or relaxing.
Oh.
She spent 3 solid days completely isolated in a room, meticulously crafting magical items.
A pair of sending stones and a ring of water walking.
Yes. Can we talk about the sheer mechanics of that? How do you even build those things?
Well, magical crafting is An excruciatingly exact science.
It's not just waving a wand.
Not at all. To create sending stones, you aren't just carving rocks. You're taking two identical minerals and forcing them into a state of arcane quantum entanglement using transmutation magic.
Arcane quantum entanglement, that sounds exhausting.
It is. You're weaving a permanent, invisible thread through the weave of magic itself, allowing a thought spoken into one stone to physically vibrate into the other, completely regardless of distance.
That is wild. And what about the ring?
A ring of water walking requires binding the elemental concept of surface tension to a physical object.
Oh.
It demands intense concentration to calculate the precise magical density required to keep a humanoid form from breaking the surface of a liquid. Doing this for 3 days straight takes a severe toll on the nervous system.
So she shows up to this party completely magically exhausted. Why do that right before a supposed vacation?
Because it isn't a vacation for her. It's a brief pause between traumas.
Oh, wow.
Think about it. Valessa just lost control of her own biology. Her body regrew limbs. She had replaced with mechanics. Her eyes turned the predatory red of her past, and she developed a literal hunger for the living.
Right, the Dhampir transition.
By isolating herself to perform highly structured, formulaic magical crafting, she's forcing her environment to submit to her will.
It's a coping mechanism.
Exactly. She is desperate for control, creating tools of survival and communication because she intrinsically feels that the ground beneath her is totally unstable.
And speaking of unstable, we absolutely have to talk about Vag Frior.
The Tabaxi Barbarian.
Yes, this towering Tabaxi barbarian. She completely ignores the games, the steam engine, the magical implications of the voyage. She ignores all of it.
She has one goal.
She makes a direct path to the kitchens in the lower decks. And she starts aggressively critiquing the ship's professional chefs on their fish preparation techniques.
I mean, it sounds purely comedic, but we really have to contextualize it within her lore.
Please do.
Vag Frior is a cook at the Blade and Stars Tavern. Before a previous, highly dangerous descent into Avernus, which is the first layer of the Nine Hells, she painstakingly prepared 45 individual meals for the party.
45 meals.
Yes. Food, for her, is not just sustenance. In a life dictated by primal rage and lethal combat, culinary precision is her anchor. It's her expression of care and order.
So when she sees a Lantanese chef improperly filleting a trout on a luxury cruise, it isn't just like bad service.
No.
To her, it's a moral failure.
Exactly. It offends her fundamental worldview and results in her being physically escorted out of the kitchen by the staff.
It is such a vivid picture. You have this luxury cruise powered by a magical steam bomb, and the VIP guests are busy interrogating the mechanics, dismantling the roulette tables, recovering from magical exhaustion, and getting thrown out of the kitchen for screaming about fish.
They're the worst tourists.
The worst. But while they are failing spectacularly at acting like normal people on vacation, Shane's paranoia actually proves to be entirely justified.
Because the threat isn't the casino itself.
Right. The threat is walking right up to him.
This is where the structural integrity of their evening begins to buckle. The isolated bubble of the ship is penetrated by the ghosts of their immediate past.
Yes. So Shane is standing near the casino entrance when a woman with long, wavy red hair approaches him.
And he knows exactly who this is.
He recognizes her instantly. It's Melra Zandru. Now, for those unfamiliar, we need to establish who Melra is because this should be an impossible encounter.
Completely impossible.
She is a Red Wizard of Thay. She is a major antagonist who had previously unleashed a fireball on her own bodyguard in an underground library. And later, she impersonated a dead noblewoman at a high society ball just to rob banking vaults on behalf of her employer.
Her employer being Sas Tam, the undead lich who rules the nation of Thay.
Right.
The Red Wizards are not just spellcasters. They are an imperialistic, ruthless magocracy. They operate on this strict hierarchy, defined by ambition, backstabbing, and a total disregard for collateral damage.
So they're bad news.
Very bad news. For Melra to be operating in Baldur's Gate as a financial infiltrator means she is highly placed and highly dangerous.
Right. And the party knew exactly how dangerous she was, which is why, when they finally defeated her on the rooftops of that noble estate, they didn't just let her go.
No, they secured her.
They bound her, magically compelled her to give up her secrets, and handed her directly to the Flaming Fist.
The primary mercenary police force of Baldur's Gate.
Exactly. She was scheduled for a highly publicized execution. She was supposed to swing from the gallows. Legally and physically, she should be a rotting corpse right now.
But she's not.
Yet here she is, standing in a casino, holding a drink.
The psychological warfare of this moment is profound. Maelra isn't ambushing Shane with a spell. She's ambushing him with her sheer casual existence.
Just standing there.
Yeah. She calmly explains that she utilized a body double to take her place at the execution.
Wow.
She found a loophole in the bureaucratic machinery of the Flaming Fist, manipulated the visual evidence, and just let a proxy die in her place.
And the craziest part, she thanks him.
Yes.
She tells Shane that during her interrogation, when she was bound and defeated, he offered her a means to end her own life on her terms rather than face the humiliation of the gallows.
A small mercy.
Yeah. And she says that small, pragmatic act of mercy caused her to reevaluate her entire trajectory.
Which is huge for a red wizard.
Both the city of Baldur's Gate and the Lift Lords Sastam now believe she's dead. So she's wiped her slate clean. She announces she's a free agent. She's looking for mercenary work. And she essentially hands Shane the underworld equivalent of a business card.
It is a stunning display of calculated survival.
Yeah.
It's like a corporate whistleblower who shorts their own company's stock right before going into witness protection and then starts handing out business cards at the ensuing bankruptcy hearing.
That is the perfect analogy.
Maelra recognized that returning to Thay empty-handed meant death via torture, and staying in a Baldur's Gate prison meant death by hanging.
Lose-lose situation.
Right. The only logical vector was to erase herself from the board entirely. She doesn't view the party's capture of her as a personal slight. She views it as a demonstration of their competence. She is networking with the very people who put her on death row.
Okay, I have to stop right here. I am genuinely baffled by how the party handles this.
I know.
You capture a terrorist who works for an undead lich, hand her to the police, she fakes her death, tracks you down, and hands you a business card. And Shane just accepts this.
He does.
He waits a few minutes and then goes to deliver a gift Maelra handed him for Valessa. And the gift is a scroll containing the tie-in hair management ritual. It is literally the spell red wizards use to maintain their mandated baldness. Are you kidding me? A war criminal walks free and the party accepts a hair loss joke and a handshake.
Well, I understand the frustration, but you really have to view this through the lens of Faerun survival tactics, not modern judicial morality.
Okay, explain that.
If Shane draws a weapon and attempts to arrest or kill Maelra right there on a crowded casino floor, he initiates a high-level magical duel in an enclosed space filled with civilians.
That would be bad.
The casualties would be catastrophic. Furthermore, Maelra has demonstrated that she has no active hostile intent toward them right now.
But she is a red wizard.
A former red wizard, currently entirely isolated from her power base. By accepting the interaction, Shane de-escalates a volatile situation. He gains a highly skilled, albeit untrustworthy, potential asset.
I guess that makes sense practically, but what about the spell scroll?
As for the spell scroll, we have to look at the mechanism of that gift. Tie-in culture mandates baldness for its red wizards as a symbol of stripping away the old self and dedicating the body entirely to the art of magic.
Right.
That specific ritual spell is culturally guarded. By giving it to Valessa, a woman Maelra previously despised and called a meddlesome thorn, she's doing two things.
Well, she's insulting her, for one.
On the surface, yes.
Yeah.
Giving someone a spell to make their hair fall out is a very dry academic insult. But mechanically, it's an encrypted handshake.
It's so.
Only a true, deeply embedded red wizard would possess the arcane formula for that specific vanity ritual. By handing over the scroll, Maelra is proving to Valessa that this isn't an illusion, a shape changer, or a trick.
Oh, wow.
It is genuinely her, offering a heavily guarded cultural secret as a bizarre, self-deprecating olive branch.
It is just so deeply weird. Valessa actually laughs at it, joking that she can use it to threaten people with baldness, even though the spell mechanics dictate it only targets the caster.
Which is a great detail.
It is. But this calculated psychological manipulation from Maelra serves as a stark contrast to the completely raw, instinctual confrontation that happens literally moments later at the bar.
Because Maelra wasn't the only ghost to buy a ticket for this cruise.
Exactly. This is where the thematic structure of the evening pivots from political survival to just deeply rooted generational trauma.
Let's get into it.
Valessa is standing at the bar. She's holding a drink. Mail-wise, the halfling cleric gave her. It's a massive tropical concoction served in a hollowed-out pineapple.
A classic cruise drink.
Yeah. Valessa, having lived most of her life underground, is deeply confused by the structural anatomy of a spiky, sweet fruit.
Right, she doesn't know what a pineapple is.
Exactly. So she looks up from this pineapple, scanning the crowd, and she freezes. Standing across the casino floor are two drow women. And she knows them. They're her sisters, Ilmrin and Talus.
To grasp the gravity of this, we really need to explain the mechanics of Drow society. Specifically, Menzoberranzan, the subterranean city of their origin.
Yes, give us the background there.
It is not just a city. It's a theocratic meat grinder dedicated to Lolth, the Spider Queen.
Meat grinder's a good word for it.
The society is a strict matriarchy built entirely on paranoia, assassination, and shifting alliances. To show weakness is to invite a knife in the back from your own kin.
Literally, your own family will kill you.
Exactly. For Valessa to have abandoned that society and survived on the surface is a statistical anomaly. It means she severed ties that are traditionally only broken by death.
And she hasn't seen these sisters in 20 years. 2 decades of silence. And where do they finally catch up? On a magically powered floating casino in Baldur's Gate.
Of all places.
Why? Because their mother sent them after Valessa ignored 3 letters.
No, it sounds mundane, almost like a sitcom premise, right?
Yeah, your mom sends your sisters to drag you home because you won't write back.
Exactly. But when your mother is a Drow matriarch, ignoring 3 letters isn't rudeness, it's a profound political insult.
Oh, it's an act of defiance.
Yes. The matriarch is dispatching trained operatives to locate a rogue asset. Ilmrin and Talus aren't there for a hug. They're there to assess Valessa's loyalty, her power, and her utility to the family house.
And Valessa is arguably at her most vulnerable right now. She's grappling with her new Dhampir physiology.
The hunger.
Yeah, her eyes have reverted to the amethyst red color she associates with her past enslavement in the Underdark. Her mechanical surface world prosthetics were organically pushed out of her body by regenerating flesh.
Which is horrifying.
Truly, she looks more like the Drow she was trying to escape than she has in 20 years. And right at that moment, her sisters walk up.
And the confrontation immediately spirals out of control. Not because of Valessa, really, but because of the collision of completely incompatible worlds.
Right, because Shane had been trying to have a conversation nearby with Valeria. Now, Valeria is a Hollyphant. We have to define this.
Yes, please do.
A Hollyphant is a small, winged, golden creature that looks like a miniature elephant. But Valeria isn't a pet. She is a hard-boiled, cynical investigator for the City Watch.
She's a detective.
She floats around acting like a detective who has seen way too many crime scenes and drank way too much bad coffee.
It's such a great visual.
Ilmrin, Valessa's sister, locks eyes on this golden flying elephant and demands, with total disgust, to know what that thing is.
Look at the underlying mechanism of Ilmrin's reaction here. Drow from Menzoberranzan spend their lives surrounded by demons, giant spiders, and necrotic horrors.
Right, darkness and evil.
A Hollyphant is a celestial being, an entity of pure upper plane goodness. To a creature raised in the abyssal darkness of Lolth's domain, a celestial being is an active biological irritant. It is an aberration to her worldview.
And Valeria, who deals with murderers and corrupt politicians all day, just looks back at this elite Drow operative with the slow, measured contempt of a cop who absolutely does not have time for tourists.
The hostility is instant.
They are seconds away from a brawl right next to the roulette tables. Valessa literally has to physically step between them, dragging her sisters away from a law enforcement officer to prevent them from getting arrested or killed.
And to add another layer of chaos to this, Vadfrieder, the Tabaxi barbarian, who is still furious about the kitchen staff ruining the fish, wanders over.
Oh, right.
She takes one look at the 2 Drow sisters and starts openly glaring at them with intense, undisguised suspicion.
The dialogue during this reunion is incredible. They are standing in the middle of this high-end casino, and Valessa and her sister start casually engaging in this deeply dark, nostalgic family banter.
It's so weird.
They make veiled, casual references to spine removal as a standard conflict resolution tactic.
As one does with family.
Exactly. They discuss Valessa's past role as a surgeon in a Drow artisan house, which, given the context we just discussed about Drow society, implies she was likely performing horrifying anatomical modifications.
Almost certainly.
And in the very next breath, they start complaining that the appetizers being served on the surface world are far too heavy in carbohydrates.
It is a brilliant juxtaposition.
Yes.
They are highly trained, lethal operatives discussing surgical torture. But they're also siblings annoyed by the dietary constraints of a foreign culture. It perfectly encapsulates the bizarre reality of adventuring life.
And standing right next to them, trying to hold the fabric of polite society together, is Mal Wise.
Mal Wise is the MVP of this section, honestly.
She really is. She is a halfling cleric, specifically a cleric of the trickery domain. While Shane is having an existential crisis over fair dice, and Valessa is preventing her sisters from dissecting a celestial detective, Malwise goes to work.
She does.
She uses her trickery magic not to cause chaos, but to vanish in plain sight. She disguises herself as a casino waitress.
The mechanics of trickery domain magic are built heavily on illusory displacement and perception manipulation.
So it's not a physical change.
Right. Malwise doesn't need to physically change her face. She alters the perception of those looking at her. She adopts the posture, the uniform, and the deference of a servant.
What?
In a setting built on class hierarchy, a servant is functionally invisible. People do not guard their words around the person carrying the tray.
She plays the role flawlessly. She even gets stopped by a deeply confused goblin guest who ordered a whiskey on the rocks and is furious that there are no actual geological stones in his glass.
I love that beat.
It's so good. Malwise politely explains the concept of ice to him, diffuses the situation, and uses her invisibility to sweep the room. She locks onto two halflings sitting at a card table, Ragra Clawcroft and Jenamine Capali.
The party knows Ragra, right?
Yes, the party knows Ragra. She owns a shady tavern called Rat's Run in the Sea Tower district. They are loudly discussing how to maximize profits by watering down their ale.
Which tells Malwise that they are connected to the city's criminal underbelly.
Right.
Baldur's Gate is heavily influenced by the Guild, a massive, syndicated criminal network. Malwise knows this. She doesn't just eavesdrop, she actively inserts herself into the network.
She walks up to their table to deliver drinks, more of those massive, hollowed-out pineapples, and as she sets them down, she subtly flashes a specific guild hand signal.
Smooth.
Jenamine sees it, processes it, and gives a microscopic nod of acknowledgement. Suddenly, Malwise isn't a waitress. She is a recognized associate.
This is how intelligence is actually gathered.
Right, it's not all torture and interrogations.
No, it's not always interrogations in dark rooms. It's leveraging shared symbols to bypass suspicion. Because Malwise establishes that connection, Ragra lowers her guard and drops the most critical piece of intelligence of the entire evening.
The bombshell.
Yes. She casually mentions that the Kyanthar Princess isn't just a casino or a geopolitical gift. The massive cargo hold beneath the engines is carrying something highly secretive and incredibly valuable.
Boom. The narrative fuse is lit. Up until this moment, the listener, the party, and the other guests have been totally distracted. We've been looking at political networking, family drama, complaints about fish.
All misdirection.
Exactly. But Ragra's intelligence entirely recontextualizes the ship. It is an armored transport vehicle masquerading as a party boat.
The family reunion and the espionage were structural misdirections. They occupied the party's attention, draining their mental bandwidth, ensuring that they were looking in the wrong direction when the actual trap was sprung.
And man, that trap springs with terrifying speed. We move from the velvet ropes directly into a nightmare.
It's so sudden.
Shane is walking away from the tables. Valessa is trying to extract herself from her sisters. Valessa looks out over the recessed casino floor. The band in the yellow outfits is playing. The dice are rolling.
Everything is normal.
Normal. And then a coordinated signal seems to ripple through the crowd. Dozens of the wealthy guests, the people who had been drinking wine and placing bets for hours, suddenly stop.
Just stop dead.
In total unison, they reach up and start aggressively wiping off their heavy theatrical makeup. They pull off their expensive powdered wigs, letting them drop to the floor. They shed their velvet robes.
The reveal.
And underneath, their armor is adorned with bone motifs, and their skin is painted with the blood-red, distinctive markings of Paul, the god of murder.
Let's break down the theology of what is happening here, because it dictates the entire combat encounter.
Yeah. Who is Baal?
Paul is a member of the Dead Three. They are ancient, malevolent deities of the Forgotten Realms. A Pilist is not just an assassin.
What's the difference?
An assassin kills for political leverage or financial gain. A Pilist kills because the act of extinguishing a life is a religious sacrament.
It's an offering.
Yes, it nourishes their god. The fact that they infiltrated the casino by embedding themselves as guests, patiently playing the role of high society gamblers until the ship was isolated on the river, it shows a terrifying evolution in their tactics.
Right, they're smart.
They aren't just zealots, they are disciplined strategic operatives.
Valessa, thanks to her heightened Dhampir reflexes, processes the visual of the wigs hitting the floor in milliseconds. She has maybe 5 seconds to scream a warning to the party before the doors to the casino floor lock.
5 seconds.
A woman steps through the main doors. The music has stopped, people are starting to panic, and this woman is laughing. But it is not a manic, unhinged laugh.
No, it's controlled.
It's a slow, relaxed, confident chuckle. She is wearing an elaborate headdress constructed from actual skulls, and she is holding a vicious, jagged ceremonial dagger.
This is Morel. She's a high priestess of Baal, and her entrance is a masterwork of psychological domination.
She owns the room.
Completely. She doesn't rush in screaming. She walks with the absolute certainty of someone who has already mathematically calculated the death toll of the room. She uses the silence to amplify her authority.
She looks out over the terrified crowd and issues her ultimatum. She doesn't demand their jewelry or the gold from the vault.
They don't care about the gold.
She points toward the lower decks and demands that a specific set of cases be brought up from the cargo hold, the exact cargo hold Mac Wise just learned about. Morel smiles and says, "If you're all good little boys and girls, then maybe not everyone will die." And to ensure there is zero ambiguity about her sincerity, she reaches out, grabs a paralyzed casino staff member, and casually drags her dagger across their throat, letting them collapse onto the mahogany floor.
It is the weaponization of terror.
It's brutal.
She murders a civilian not out of anger, but as a visual aid. She is establishing the new physics of the room. Non-compliance equals immediate messy death.
That's setting the rule.
Right. She expects the sudden, shocking brutality to paralyze the wealthy civilians and force any security forces into submission. She's treating violence as a tactical instrument to freeze the board while her cultists move on the cargo hold.
It's like stepping into a classic James Bond casino scene and suddenly the doors lock and you're in the middle of a brutal siege, like Die Hard.
Yeah, exactly.
But Morel's psychological warfare hits a brick wall the moment she looks at Valessa. Morel expects submission. She expects begging.
But Valessa's not a civilian.
No. Valessa, who has spent the last hour dealing with her murderous drow sisters and her own vampiric hunger, looks at this blood-soaked priestess and essentially tells her, using incredibly colorful and profane language, exactly where she can shove her dagger.
Valessa's defiance is the spark that shatters Morel's control over the room.
It breaks the tension.
It breaks a spell of terror. When one person refuses to bow, the psychological dominance of the terrorist crumbles, and the situation immediately devolves into raw, mechanical combat.
And it is Mosswise who throws the first punch, in the most spectacular way possible.
This is great.
Mosswise is still standing on the casino floor in her waitress disguise, holding an empty tray. The second Valessa finishes cursing out the priestess, Mosswise drops the tray. Mid-stride, she drops the illusion of the trickery domain.
The disguise melts away.
The cheerful halfling in the apron vanishes like smoke, and beneath it is a warrior clad in pitch-black studded leather armor, gripping a shield and a blade. She channels her divine energy and casts spirit guardians, while simultaneously teleporting directly behind Morel.
Let's explain the mechanics of spirit guardians, because the flavor Moywise applies to it is incredible.
Please, it's so funny.
The spell calls forth protective spirits to surround the caster in a 15-foot radius, having the movement speed of any enemy caught inside and shredding them with radiant divine energy.
Right, usually it's angels or whatever.
Usually a cleric summons angelic figures or perhaps ethereal knights. But Moywise is a halfling trickery cleric. She summons a massive swirling swarm of spectral, furious halflings.
A ghostly swarm of angle-biters.
Exactly. The magic manifests at waist height. Dozens of glowing, translucent halflings armed with ethereal shivs and knives erupt into existence, furiously jabbing and slicing at the shins and knees of Morel and her cultists.
That is amazing.
It is deeply disorienting. But what tells you everything you need to know about a high priestess of Baal is Morel's reaction to being surrounded by stabbing ghosts.
She doesn't scream. She doesn't retreat. She looks down at the spectral knives cutting into her legs, arches an eyebrow, and says, with genuine twisted appreciation, "I like it."
So creepy.
And then she lunges at Moywise.
That is the theological difference of Baal. Pain isn't a deterrent, it's a sacrament. She enjoys the violence being inflicted upon her as much as the violence she inflicts.
The battle that explodes across the casino floor is absolute bedlam. But when you look closely at the mechanics, you see an incredible tactical breakdown of how this party operates. They don't just swing swords, they control the physics of the room.
They are very efficient.
Let's start with Shane. While the magic is flying and axes are swinging, Shane completely disengages from the front line. He drops into the shadows, sneaks past the perimeter of the fight, and sprints directly down the stairs toward the cargo hold doors.
Shane proves that he is the most tactically grounded member of the party here.
Totally.
He instantly diagnoses the victory condition of the encounter. The cultists don't care about killing the party. They care about retrieving the cases from the cargo hold.
If they get the cases, they win.
Regardless of how many cultists die, Shane ignores the glory of combat and plays the objective. He reaches the heavy doors of the cargo hold, pulls out his thieves' tools, and he doesn't try to pick the lock.
No, he destroys it.
He actively destroys the tumblers. He jams the mechanism so thoroughly that the door fuses shut. By doing this, he single-handedly thwarts the primary objective of a highly coordinated Balist strike team.
It is brilliant. While Shane secures the objective, Talia takes over battlefield control. The satyr taps into her native Feywild magic and casts Hold Person on 2 charging cultists. We need to explain how this works, because it isn't just like tying them up.
Hold Person is enchantment magic. It doesn't create physical ropes. It aggressively invades the neurological pathways of the target, severing the connection between their brain and their motor function.
That sounds terrifying.
The cultists are completely conscious, their momentum violently arrested, their bodies locked in a rigid paralysis while the battle rages around them.
One of the cultists tries to break the paralysis with sheer willpower, and Talia instantly hits him with silvery barbs.
Oh, that's rough.
She literally tugs on the magical threads of fate, forcing his mind to stumble just as he is about to break free, ensuring he remains locked down.
It's so controlling.
Then, she unleashes a chaos bolt. This is where the physics of magic get really wild. She hurls this fluctuating, unstable mass of energy. It hits a cultist, dealing psychic damage.
But then it bounces, right?
Yes. Because the magical dice rolled matching numbers, the spell physically ricochets. The remaining kinetic and elemental energy leaps through the air, arcs across the roulette tables, and slams into a second target.
Talia is operating as a crowd control specialist. By paralyzing the foot soldiers and bouncing damage across multiple targets, she strips Morel of her support structure.
Leaving her exposed.
Exactly, leaving the priestess isolated against the party's heavy hitters.
And the heavy hitters do not hold back. Siantal, the tiefling warlock, positions themselves at a safe distance near the grand staircase.
Good positioning. They conjure a massive spectral entity, a form of dread that looms over the battlefield, projecting an aura of sheer terror. From the safety of this terrifying shadow, Siantal unleashes a barrage of eldritch blasts.
A classic warlock move.
But these aren't just standard magical bolts. These are crackling beams of pure concussive force. They roll multiple critical strikes, punching right through Morel's armor and knocking the priestess backward, leaving her visibly battered and leaking blood.
Siantal acts as the artillery. Consistent, high-impact kinetic damage delivered from a strategically secure position. This forces Morel to constantly adjust her footing, unable to mount a focused offensive against Moais or Valessa.
And then there is Valessa. She activates her Blade Song. It's an ancient elven magical martial art that turns combat into this hyper-accelerated fluid dance.
Beautiful but deadly.
Very. But she overlays this elegant elven technique with her dark, Dhampir nature. She casts Spirit Shroud. Let's explain the necrotic weight of this spell, because it is visually terrifying.
Spirit Shroud pulls necrotic energy from the Shadowfell, the realm of the dead. It manifests around Valessa as a swirling, freezing fog.
Okay.
Within that fog, the spirits of the dead take form. In her case, manifesting as a massive, ethereal serpent that coils around her body as she moves.
Like a ghost snake.
Yes. And every time she strikes a cultist with her weapon, the serpent lashes out, infusing the physical wound with pure necrotic decay, stopping any natural healing and slowing the victim's movements.
She is literally dancing through the casino, a blur of elven grace, wreathed in a ghost snake that wots the flesh of anyone she cuts.
It's incredibly cinematic.
The visual juxtaposition of that against the brightly lit golden casino tables is just awesome. But if we're talking about terrifying visuals, we have to talk about the Tabaxi. Vagfridor taps into a rage that completely alters her physical geometry.
Barbarian rage is often misunderstood as just getting really angry.
Right, like throwing a tantrum.
For Vagfridor, it's a primal biological override. Her muscles expand. Her limbs physically lengthen, giving her a predatory, unnatural reach.
That's horrifying.
The civilized cook from the Bladen Stars is entirely submerged beneath the apex predator of her ancestry.
She leaps off a gambling table, soaring through the air, and channels divine terror into her battle axe using a wrathful smite. As the axe buries into Morel's shoulder, ghostly, screaming visages erupt from the blade, flooding the priestess's mind with psychic fear.
A devastating hit.
But Vagfridor doesn't stop there. A cultist lunges at her. She drops her axe, grabs the man, lets out a blood-curdling, feline screech and literally tears his throat out with her teeth.
It is the absolute pinnacle of savagery.
Right.
A purely biological, lethal mechanism executed in the middle of a high society setting. And the brilliance of the narrative here is how the environment reacts to this.
Yes. Wagbrier rips a man's jugular out, blood goes everywhere, and immediately Marceline Thornglass, the ship's floor manager, screams at her from behind the bar.
The manager.
Yes. But she isn't screaming in terror at the murder. She is screaming because Wagbrier is bleeding on the furniture.
Priorities.
Marceline yells, "Excuse me, that blood will never come out of the velvet."
That detail is flawless. It perfectly grounds the sheer absurdity of the Forgotten Realms.
It really does.
Yes, there's a religious death cult executing a terror attack, and yes, a giant cat woman just ate a man's neck. But this is a business, and imported Lantanese velvet is incredibly expensive. It breaks the tension with a profound reminder of bureaucratic priorities.
Morel is taking a catastrophic amount of damage. Her armor is shattered by Santal's blasts. She is bleeding from Wagfrier's axe. Her legs are being shredded by Moaz's ghost halflings. Valessa's necrotic serpent is draining her vitality.
She's losing.
Badly. She looks around the room. Her embedded cultists are either dead, paralyzed, or actively fleeing. Her mission to secure the cargo hold has been blocked by Shane. She looks at the party standing there, covered in the blood of her followers, and she doesn't look afraid.
What does she do?
She just sighs. She looks at them with genuine disappointment, shakes her head, and says they're no fun.
That phrase, no fun, is a chilling window into the psychology of a Baelist high priestess.
It's so dismissive.
To her, this wasn't a desperate battle for survival. It was a game. The slaughter of innocents, the tactical maneuvering, the pain, it was all recreational worship. When the party proves too mathematically efficient to toy with, she simply loses interest.
She decides to leave. A swirling, pitch-black vortex, a tear in the magical fabric of the room, opens directly beneath her feet. She doesn't run. She simply lets herself fall backward into the darkness.
A classic villain exit.
The vortex snaps shut, and she vanishes completely before anyone can launch a counterspell or land a final blow.
It is a highly disciplined tactical retreat. She recognizes the failure condition of the engagement.
The objective is gone.
The objective is locked, her forces are depleted, and staying means martyrdom without purpose. By using teleportation magic, she preserves her own life and the intelligence she has gathered about the party's capabilities for a future strike.
With Morel gone, the remaining cultists are mopped up in seconds. Wagfrier, whose limbs are still unnaturally long from her primal rage, tackles the final surviving cultist. She pins him to the floor with a mechanical grip that leaves zero room for negotiation.
He's not getting away.
The party produces ropes and heavy iron chains, binding the man to a chair. The immediate threat is neutralized, the ship is safe, the adrenaline stops pumping, and the reality of the situation sets in. They need answers.
Securing a perimeter and neutralizing a threat relies on kinetic force. Breaking a prisoner, however, relies on psychological leverage.
And they don't have it.
And this is where the party encounters a massive, frustrating hurdle.
Shane steps up to lead the interrogation. This is usually his domain. He is the rogue. He understands leverage and intimidation.
It's his job.
Right. He demands to know where Morel teleported to, what their base of operations is, and exactly what they were looking for in the cargo hold. Seantal stands right behind him, projecting that terrifying spectral aura to back up the threat.
Good cop, bad cop. Except they're both bad cops.
Exactly. But the cultist doesn't flinch. He looks up from his chains, spits blood, and mocks them. He laughs at them for leaving him alive, and he confirms absolutely nothing other than the fact that they are there to enact the will of Baal.
This is the fundamental mechanical problem of interrogating a religious fanatic. Intimidation relies on the threat of consequence, usually the threat of pain or death.
Right, which usually works.
But to a true believer of the god of murder, death is not a consequence. It is a promotion.
A promotion?
It is a direct communion with their deity. If you threaten to kill a Baelist, you are threatening to give them exactly what they want. Shane's entire toolkit of underworld coercion is rendered completely useless because the cultist operates on an entirely different value system.
Shane hits a wall. The logical threats aren't working. So Valessa decides to step in and try her hand at psychological pressure. And this is where the entire process just devolves into pure, unadulterated comedy.
It's amazing.
Valessa tries to intimidate the man, but instead of focusing on his impending doom, she somehow gets sidetracked and goes on this massive, rambling tangent about her own personal history. She starts detailing her resume.
Her resume.
She explains her past as a surgeon in a drow artisan house, listing off her anatomical expertise and her specific skills with a scalpel.
She completely loses control of the narrative structure of the interrogation. Instead of making the cultist focus on his vulnerability, she makes him focus on her rambling.
She distracts him from being scared.
The cultist, who is bleeding, chained to a chair, and surrounded by the people who just slaughtered his entire unit, actually stops and starts critiquing her technique.
That is so embarrassing.
He mocks her lack of focus. He essentially tells her she is bad at her job.
I am dying to know how this happens. How do you survive an ambush, perfectly execute a tactical defense of a casino, secure the high-value target, and then completely lose the psychological high ground to a guy tied to a chair because you started reading him your LinkedIn profile?
You really have to look at the physiological reality of what the party has just endured. Adrenaline is a finite resource.
Okay, fair.
Look at the timeline of the last few hours. Valessa had a profoundly traumatizing 20-year reunion with her deadly sisters while grappling with a vampiric hunger.
True.
Shane had his worldview shattered by a dead red wizard handing him a scroll for baldness. McGuire had to flawlessly execute an undercover intelligence-gathering operation.
Right.
And then a massive, explosive life-or-death combat scenario with a death cult. They operated at peak cognitive and physical capacity for hours. When the fighting stopped, the adrenaline crashed.
They're tapped out.
They physically standing in the room,
Yeah.
but their prefrontal cortexes, the part of the brain responsible for complex strategy and focused interrogation,
Yeah.
are completely depleted.
They are running on fumes, and to their credit, they eventually realize it. After being mocked by their own prisoner, they look at each other, realize they are getting absolutely nowhere, and decide to call a timeout. They leave the cultists chained up, secure the room, and decide to regroup.
Which is the most professional tactical decision they make in the aftermath.
Really, just walking away.
If you recognize that your cognitive state is compromised, you do not push forward and risk making a fatal error. You secure the asset, stabilize the environment, and wait until your faculties return.
That makes sense. So we have to pull all of this together. We started with the promise of a pristine, mathematically perfect bubble of luxury on the River Kyanthar.
The floating palace.
We watched that bubble get invaded by the ghosts of Tay, the familial trauma of the Underdark, and the criminal syndicates of Baldur's Gate. And finally, we watched it violently pop under the pressure of a coordinated strike by the faithful of the God of Murder.
What Session 19 demonstrates so brilliantly is the inescapable nature of history in a world like Vyrone.
How so?
You can build a miraculous steam engine, you can sail away on a mahogany riverboat, you can wrap yourself in imported Lantanese velvet, but you cannot engineer a barrier strong enough to keep out the consequences of your past.
The ghosts always catch up.
The politics, the cults, and the family ties will always find a way to buy a ticket.
It is a stunning piece of narrative architecture. But as we wrap up this deep dive, it leaves us staring at one massive, unresolved mechanism.
The cargo hold.
Exactly. We know the theology of the Palists. We know they view murder as a sacrament. We know Morell orchestrated a highly disciplined, embedded operation specifically to seize the cases locked beneath the casino floor. Shane jammed the lock so whatever is in there is safe for now. But think about the resources required for this attack.
Precisely. Bailiffs are terrorists, but they are not thieves.
Right.
They do not launch massive coordinated strikes against heavily populated high-profile targets to steal gold or casino chips. Whatever is sitting in the dark of that cargo hold is inherently linked to their theology.
What could a Lantanese steam vessel be carrying that is so uniquely devastating, so horrifying, that the god of murder himself deployed a high priestess to ensure it was seized? What is sitting in those cases just below the feet of the oblivious gamblers? That is the puzzle you get to mull over. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.